guys, it's Jessica from Audacity, and I am here with the winner of our 2022 pitch contest, Chelsea Paulding, founder of Sis, You Got This. Yay! She is also my cousin, and we have a very similar on camera voice, which I find very exciting. Hey, Chelsea.
Hello.
So, guys, we are going to go ahead and get into this. Chelsea, tell the folks the overview. What is Sis You Got This? What is it and how'd you get started?
Yeah, so Sis You Got This is a nonprofit organization that promotes women's mental and physical health. So it really stemmed out of my own mental and physical health journey. And I started it back in 2020 on March 8th, which is Women's International Day. And, Women's History Month is coming up next month. So it'll be coming up on our 3-year mark. So I'm super excited about that. But I really just wanted to create this organization and promote not only women's physical and mental health, but women's empowerment, and kind of just give a safe space for women to embrace themselves, let them open up about their truth about their mental or physical health journey, and kind of just have that nice, cozy community.
Love it. I love it. Now, one of the things that I think is super important because as we're filming this right now, it's not only Valentine's Day, but it's also Black History Month. Yay. Is that mental and physical health deprivations, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word. It should be, yeah, deprivations tend to disproportionately affect Black women. Talk to us a little bit about that and why, and what is your organization doing, since it is owned by you yourself, a Black woman, to alleviate some of those barriers?
Well, I think in the Black and African American community in general, it's very taboo to talk about your struggles or your situations that's going on mentally. So I think we're disproportionately affected just because it's always on the hush hush.
Right.
Growing up, we're not always able to express how we're feeling, and if we do express how we're feeling, it comes
It's
off that
disrespectful.
yeah, it
Yep.
comes off respect. So nowadays, when I feel like we're kind of in the era of mental health era where going to therapy is starting to become a little bit more normalized. And so what Sis You Got This is doing is just saying, hey, it's okay to not be okay. You don't have to bottle it up. And so we promote not only through Black History Month, but promoting strong female characters that also promote mental health and kind of going through their journeys and letting others know that you don't have to carry it on your shoulders. I think as Black women, we're always categorized in the strong category when we're not always strong, or that we always take on things and then just hide it when we don't necessarily have to. So Sis You Got This really just promotes a safe space to where you can open up and not always be that strong hard exterior, that you can open up and be emotional and let people know you're not doing too well.
Now, it's interesting that you say this because as this is emerging, what's also emerging is the soft life terminology, which for those of y'all who don't know, originated in Nigeria. And it's a term that was coined by Nigerian female influencers who basically the term means that it's Black women taking on more of a life of leisure and pleasure than just about being strong and hardworking and so on and so on. Would you say that Sis You Got This alludes more into that lifestyle, even though we're also doing like all these really hard workouts? If you guys have never joined her Sis You Got This workouts, I'm telling you, it will get you right. But even with like having to talk about the hard stuff and everything and like doing these like challenging workouts and facing these challenging topics and everything, do you feel like Sis You Got This is kind of giving way into like that soft girl soft life era as well? And what's the balance between obviously, like, we don't want to be strong all the time as Black women. We mentally and physically cannot sustain that, and it's been proven to us time and time again that we cannot mentally and physically sustain something like that. But would you say that there is a balance warranted between being strong and being the soft girl?
I think there definitely is, and I kind of portray that not only with Sis You Got This, but kind of in my everyday life too. So Even though I have Sis You Got This on my Instagram platform, I also show the real side of myself on my own personal platform. So sometimes there may be a few breaks between Sis You Got This and posting, just because I don't always feel the best, or not always wanting to indulge in my full potential. That's okay. Sometimes you got to take a break and kind of recharge. And so I think that balance after you recharge to become that best version of yourself is needed. So I think showing both sides of yourself and giving yourself a little bit of grace when you're on that downfall is
Yes.
important. So when you do have that time to recharge and you can get back to your full potential, or you have that burst of energy or motivation, then you have kind of that balance between, okay, some days I just want to lay on the couch and watch a good movie with a glass of wine. Some days I want to do a million other jobs or go after all these different adventures that I want to do. So I feel like if you don't have balance, you're going to crash or you're going to crumble if you go too far right or too far left.
Yes, and the transparency, my God. Like you are probably one of the first people that I have interviewed, and I kid you not. I'm really, really serious. You're probably one of the first people that I've interviewed that has just been honest and said, you know what, sometimes I gotta take breaks from my business because I feel uninspired.
Yeah.
That is
That,
a huge deal. And like you're so like it's unfortunate that you are considered brave in this moment for saying this, but hopefully this will inspire people to where like this is a norm and not just brave to do. I mean, we see when it comes to young businesses, small businesses, and businesses that operate via social media, we really just see the highlight reel, right?
mm,
We really just see like the wins. You don't see when, you make a big financial mistake with your business and you've lost hundreds of dollars that, in the early phases of your business, it's mistakes that you can't afford to make, literally cannot afford to make. Or we don't talk about how, you know what, it took a lot of energy for me to record those 10 reels and I don't want to do them today. And I just don't want to do them today, and it's scary because like, there's always like we're like so pressed now for this, like, make the content, post this, do this, do this, do this.
yeah.
And right now with the way the Instagram algorithm is going too, like you already feel like you're kind of just talking to a brick wall. The algorithm is complete shit. Like you feel like you're talking to a brick wall sometimes. And so like it's hard to feel inspired. And so I really appreciate that you're being so open and honest about, there are just times where like you don't feel inspired to create, no matter how much you love your business, you need to tell yourself, sis, I got this, and take your ass to bed for a little bit until you
Mm.
figure out what's going on. I mean, was it hard for you to be honest about those moments? Have you been open about this on your platform or just like within your personal circles? And is it hard for you to do that?
At times it has been. I've actually been contemplating if I wanted to post a transparency post about like kind of things that I've been going on and give an update. But I feel like I'm in a transition period of my life. So I've
Mhm.
been trying to find some time to make that balance and create it. So eventually, yes, I'll be posting about just that transparency and letting people know, hey, sometimes life gets away from you, or there's different changes within your life. Starting it in 2020 is completely different than carrying it on today in 2023. And so I do find it a little bit hard sometimes, but again, I'm trying to give myself some grace and making sure that I'm on the right track to where I want to be and where I want to be for Sis You Got This. Because one thing I'm not going to do is give up on something that I started that came from something that was so close to me.
Period. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's great. It's excellent that you're discovering this early in your mid 20s because a lot of women, especially women in business, do not discover, oh, I'm tired until they've been doing this for about 20 years. You know,
Right.
that's when they discover that they're tired and they want to do all kinds of different things or new things or change things or leave things. And often feel like, oh, maybe like I didn't do things right the first time. So like it's good that you're checking in with yourself on that level. Um, Speaking of checking in with yourself, what are ways, because I hear you saying that when you start feeling a certain way, that's when you figure out how to like back away from your business for a little bit until you're ready to get back into it. Have you been able to discover like maybe like signs that burnout is on its way and able to do more like preventative burnout, or are you handling it as it comes?
I guess it kind of goes case by case basis. Now, if I feel like I just have way too much on my plate, I'll try to either schedule it out or make like a to-do list. I literally have probably 3 or 4 different calendars in my office. And so I try to plan out if I feel like, okay, I have a lot of things that are going to be coming up, like the next month, the next few weeks. And I travel a lot. So I try to make sure that I'm not putting too much on my caseload and kind of schedule things out. Now, if I feel like everything is like on top of me and I feel like I'm just about to crumble, I do have my support system, whether that's my fiance or my mom or you and the family or the girls that I can kind of just talk to about it. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of my safe strategy to make sure that I'm not going to explode or self-sabotage myself.
Ooh, now that's a big one. Self-sabotage.
Mhm.
Self-sabotage, because we do it. We
Yeah.
do it. We do it as women. We do it as Black women. We do it as business owners.
Mhm.
Um, this is not the question I planned on asking, but it's pivoted me that way now. So, have you ever caught yourself accidentally or subconsciously self-sabotaging? And what did you do about it?
Absolutely. I feel like I fall victim into imposter syndrome a lot, um,
Mm,
because a lot of things will happen at one time, and I thank the Lord for the blessings that He's given me, but sometimes I don't always feel deserving of it, or I'm too young to be doing this, or life isn't supposed to be this way for me. And I kind of self-sabotage myself that way. And so when I start to do that, I have to, take a moment and think about it like, no, this is what God's plan has set for you. Or if I self-sabotage myself to where things aren't going the way that I plan them, I have to realize that that plan may not be what the plan is supposed to be in the end. And so I
right.
kind of reevaluate. And as you grow older, your mindset has to change. And so I think that's one thing that I've been working on and try to promote on Sis You Got This, that life is not just a straight line. You're going to have many hills, some high highs, some low lows, but you always have to be sure to pick yourself up and kind of keep going on that pace, regardless of how that journey is going.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Now I'm going to take this that we did here. I'm going to take Bikini Bottom and push it over here and push it somewhere else. Because now we're going to dive a little bit more deeper into the community work that Says You Got This does. So, in addition to the online content that promotes mental and physical health, as far as like sharing statistics, sharing workouts, sharing healthy meal plans, and things like that, as well as just like general healthy habits and mentality, you guys also do a lot of community work for organizations that move in support of women. And one of the big ones that you really, really push for is for survivors of domestic abuse. As we know, and again, y'all, sorry, we're filming this on Valentine's Day, but as we know, a day like this is not always safe for a lot of women and men. We're talking about women today, but men too. Men get abused too. And we don't talk about that enough. We can get into look. That is a whole nother podcast, y'all. That is a whole other podcast. But we will get into it one day. But today, this is a day that's really not safe for a lot of women. Um, be it that, that assault cases are going to rise up today simply because people act full today, or because women are in very unsafe domestic abuse situations. I know I can't remember if it's 1/3 or 30% of women who are in prison right now are there because they finally stood up to their abuser and killed them. And days like this can be hard for people who are in relationships that are not healthy. So, and it disproportionately affects Black women, unfortunately. So, tell us a little bit about one, the work that y'all do in those efforts to help end domestic violence or to help provide the assistance that survivors of domestic violence need. And two, tell us a little bit more about how we can gear that specifically to liberate more Black women.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of work that we've done as far as domestic violence is kind of geared towards where I'm actually located is in Georgia. And so we've done domestic violence volunteerism across from Columbus, from Atlanta to Augusta. And so I really dedicate my time as far as helping survivors or helping victims and their families by education. Education is going to be the number one thing that the society, that community needs to do in order to learn what they can do to help survivors or help victims, but also donating time, donating items, and having that safety plan for them to go ahead and get out of that situation if they are willing to get out of that situation.
Mm.
Now it's always up to them on whether they want to get out of that abusive relationship or not, but we can always be sentimental and encouraging to let them know that, hey, this is not what love should truly look like. So hopefully with my work with Sis You Got This and going around as far as that, we can really educate the community in order to help a victim or a survivor, or let them know a friend on how they can help too.
Love it. Um, what would you say as far as the domestic abuse tip applies to Black women, since it's just like Black and brown women are disproportionately affected by domestic abuse every day, as we know. Whether it's because they're not believed, they don't have the same access to resources. What's something that we can do to bridge that gap and liberate more Black and brown women from their domestic abuse situation?
I think it all falls back into those family ties again, where it's not always talked about within the Black or African American community. And so, if, say, a young Black woman is going through a domestic violence situation in her relationship, she has to find someone that she feels supported by in order to indulge in that conversation to get help. So sometimes when Black women go towards their family members or their friends, they're, like you said, not believed, or they simply don't know where to go. And so I think we need to start with knowing what organizations help domestic violence victims or survivors and their family members, knowing where we can get the resources at, education, and having that conversation with our family to be comfortable to even talk about a situation like that. So I think it always starts, one, with yourself to be ready to come out of that relationship, two, have someone that's supported, that's going to listen to you and really be there for you, and three, knowing where your resources are in order to get out of that situation.
Mm-hmm. Whew. Well, that is heavy, but it was needed. It was absolutely needed. I guess my follow-up question, because there's always follow-up question, would be because we're seeing more of this. It's interesting because the problem is not going away, but the problem is evolving. So even as Black women are becoming more financially stable, more successful in their careers, they they tend to still have a hard time finding a relationship that's not, what's the word I'm looking for? That's not toxic. There's no other nice way to say it. It's we as Black women tend to have a very hard time finding relationships that are not toxic. And the more successful we become, the harder it is. And that's not because, Black women are horrible partners or anything like that. It's usually because Black women are considered to be the least desired. So when we're the least desired, we're the least believed, we're the least, likely to be able to get access to resources or to be able to benefit from those resources. How, as successful Black women, can we change the narrative and hopefully reach back and help others? I know I keep asking, like, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? But it's because the problem is so evolving and it has so many layers that often people think that women who are being abused are like just somewhere in the projects getting the black eye with a dude in a wife beater. And some of the highest profile people are the very people who are suffering from this. I mean, we have seen the Megan Thee Stallion situation play out before our eyes on television where she was not believed.
Mhm.
She was not believed because they're like, oh, well, like she told later, or, well, the doctor said that she stepped on glass, but then the report comes out in court that doesn't actually say that. So who made that shit up? Right. So, like, no, she was shot in her feet. So as we climb that ladder towards success as Black women in business, there's always going to be some roaches that are, it's what people forget is that like they don't abusers don't always pick women who are all sad and forlorn and struggling. A lot of times successful women like Megan are chosen because they're looking to humble them or to break their spirit or to embarrass them before the public. So as Black women like you and I continue to become more successful, but also still want those loving relationships and everything, how can we ourselves, like, of course we want to help survivors and everything, but how can we ourselves do the preventative work to make sure not only is that a situation that we don't end up in, but that's not a situation that our friends or our sisters or our other family members end up in either. Obviously other people's choices are other people's choices, and we have to work on that, but what's the preventative work that we can do to ensure that we don't fall into these traps? Tell us the red flags to look for.
Well, it's exactly what you said. You have to know the signs in order to not fall victim into a relationship like that. So, with a domestic violence relationship or any sort of abuse, because domestic violence isn't just physical, it
Right.
can be financial. They can separate you from your family members, things of that nature. So, you have to watch out for the power dynamics within your relationship. So it's always about that power and control wheel. So it's a continuous cycle. And especially with Black women being so successful, it could be intimidating for a male or the alpha male culture. And so that's one thing we have to take heed of when we're going into these relationships or you're dating. Notice the small things. Are they constantly asking you where you're going, what you're doing? Does it seem like they have to know every small little detail about you? And it can be so minute that it seems like, oh, they just care about me. But you also have to look at the bigger scheme of things. Do you feel comfortable with telling them where you're going all the time? Do you feel like they're kind of shooing you away from your friends and your family or your safe space or your circle of support? So knowing those signs and really diving deep into who you're going to be dating or in a relationship be key. Setting those boundaries and those standards of this is how I want to be loved, this is what I think love is, and this is what I think love is not. And just trying to have those different qualities about yourself, staying true to knowing who you are. I think Black women especially fall victim to having big insecurities going into relationships or from past relationships or past traumas and bringing it into their dating lives. So knowing those signs and being comfortable with who you are and knowing your partner is going to be key. Now, some things that can happen, people change over time. Maybe you get into a relationship with that person and they showed one side of them while you were dating, but once you're in a relationship with them for 3 to 5 years or however long, things start to change. But you also have to be comfortable with knowing when to step away.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that this life or this relationship may not be the best for me, and having that dignity and knowing where to go in order to get that help to step away too.
Well, she told y'all. She told y'all these are the red flags, these are the things to look for. And as we continue to become more successful, these are things that we are going to keep in mind in order to protect ourselves and others. Chelsea, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Okay, before we go, tell everybody one, where we can find Sis You Got This, and two, how we can support you guys.
Well, you can follow us on Instagram at sis_you got this, or you can check out our website at www.sisyouGotThis.org. You can email us at sisyougottthis.20@gmail.com. We would love to connect with you. If you have any volunteer work, whether in the Augusta, Columbus, or Atlanta area, we are so willing to reach out to the community and grow our bandwidth that way. But always support and give us a follow, reach out if you like to. And yeah, that's how you can connect.
Guys, make sure you give them a follow. Make sure you check out their website. Make sure you donate so that they can continue to spread their efforts, not just across Georgia, but we want to grow this nationwide so that we can help as many women as possible. So if you like what you saw today, go ahead and comment below and shoot us a message, shoot Chelsea a message, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.